I'm Sarah, the communications assistant intern here at Fashion Mingle. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for our first Student Mingle Social. We're so excited to announce our special guest today, YouTuber Danielle Jordan. Danielle, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Danielle. I just graduated recently from Loyola University, Maryland, and I've been doing YouTube for the past 7 years now, since 2013. So I'm really excited to talk to all of you.
Okay. That's awesome.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica. I'm the marketing manager for Fashion Mingle and Student Mingle. Just a reminder, you can be asking your questions in the comments and in the chat throughout the webinar, and we will take time for them at the end. We'd love to hear from where you're all from, where you went to school, what your major is. So please feel free to leave all of that in the comments as well. And we're looking forward to speaking with Danielle.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Danielle. So to start us off, what were your inspirations for starting your YouTube channel? Was there like a specific YouTuber you admired?
So I think my main inspiration when it came to starting my YouTube channel was the YouTuber Bethany Moda. And I think a lot of YouTubers who started around the same time as I did can say the same. She just had a very specific personality that spoke really well to kids who were around the age of 13, 14. And it was the type of personality that not only made you want to continue watching her videos, but kind of inspired you and made you feel like you could do the same. So that was kind of my main inspiration behind it.
That's awesome. So you're at 62K right now and counting, which is incredible. So what tactics and methods did you use in growing your audience?
It's hard to say, especially because since YouTube has been around as a platform for such a long time, the tactics that YouTubers use in order to grow their platforms changes pretty regularly. But I think the main tactic that I've been using ever since the beginning is consistency. In order to work around the YouTube algorithm and work it in your favor, you definitely need to be pushing out content as often as possible. So especially in the beginning, when you're first starting your channel, posting as often as possible and posting content that you know the particular audience that you're hoping to reach is looking for is definitely the most important thing.
I definitely agree with you. Like, consistency is definitely key in a situation like this, especially when growing your audience. By the way, I love your videos, and
thank you.
And in your most recent video, you touched on how you were changing up your editing style a little bit. But I also love that your channel ranges, it has a wide range of topics from beauty to lifestyle to vlogs. So it's awesome that even after all these years of being on YouTube, you're showing people to never be stagnant in any aspect, even though even through consistency, you're changing up your editing. Which I think is so important. So speaking of editing, what editing softwares do you use?
So when I first started, I used iMovie because it's a free application and it comes with the laptops from Apple. So it's kind of a no-brainer to use it. And then after I had been doing YouTube for, I think it was going on 2 years, I got Final Cut Pro for Christmas and it changed the game for me. And ever since then, that's what I've been using.
Awesome. So how do you handle and respond to criticism from peers? And do you have any tips on that?
It's definitely hard. I would never try and sugarcoat it and say that receiving criticism from peers is an easy thing to handle. I think it is a learning curve in a way, because in the beginning, you're not necessarily used to it, because when you first start making content on YouTube, you are signing yourself up to receive criticism from random people on the internet who stumble across your video, but you never really expect that people in your personal life might, to word it, I don't know, one way to turn on you in a way. So it definitely takes a little bit of adjustment. I think if it's something that you really love, and in my case it was, it continues to be something I really love, that kind of takes higher priority than everything that people are saying about you. But I think it's all about approaching it with confidence. And if people decide to come at you with a negative critique about your channel, you say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's something that I feel really passionate about. And I think that's all that matters.
That's an awesome approach you have. It is also so inspiring that you're pursuing your passion. So how do you make an income on YouTube?
So Making an income on YouTube is definitely not something that happens right from the get-go. I suppose maybe with creators who are lucky to blow up very instantaneously, which happens for some very lucky people. But in the beginning, it's not something that is necessarily attainable. But as time goes on, you will be able to sign your YouTube channel with Google AdSense, because YouTube is owned by Google. And once you sign with Google AdSense and you make an account with them, Google will place ads on your videos, both in the beginning, the end, and throughout the duration of your video. And then each YouTuber has a particular amount of money that they receive per interaction with one of those ads. So that's one part of revenue that will accumulate throughout the month. And then you were able to collect checks at the end of every month from Google. In addition to that, a lot of YouTubers' revenue comes from brand deals. So for myself personally, I work with a management team. And when I am looking to work with a brand, or a brand is looking to work with me, the brand will go through my manager, and my manager will help negotiate a set rate for myself, something that feels appropriate for both of my main platforms, which are YouTube and Instagram. And from there, then we kind of negotiate out and sign contracts. And then that is the other main source of my revenue.
Okay, so speaking of brands, I know you said that brands will contact your manager. Do you ever contact any brands that you would like to work with?
Yeah, so I personally wouldn't reach out to a brand. Before I was signed with a management agency, it was definitely something that I would do. I would go through Instagram, or even find their direct influencer marketing emails, which are actually really accessible and able to find online. So that's definitely something I would do. And I encourage people who have YouTube channels or successful Instagram accounts to do, because you never know, you might get lucky. But then if there's a brand that I in particular really, really want to work with, I can reach out to my manager and say, do you have a contact there? Would you be able to reach out to them? And more often than not, he says yes.
That's awesome. And I know right now we're going through such a weird time, and like weird is for sure like an understatement.
Oh yeah.
But how did your content change during quarantine?
That's a great question. I think during quarantine, my content changed for the better, really, which is interesting to say. And I definitely didn't expect it to be that way. But I think my content during quarantine was able to allow my subscribers to get to know me a little bit more on a personal level, because beyond my content during quarantine, I was doing a lot of travel content, which is a lot less focused on me and more focused on where I was and the city or the country that I was exploring. But now, since travel isn't an option whatsoever, I decided to take my content and really focus it on myself, although that sounds kind of strange, and allow my audience and incoming subscribers to really get to know who I am, and then from there decide if they want to stick around. And many people have since then. It's been a nice change, definitely different. And I'm very excited to get back to travel content and all of my favorite types of videos that I put on my channel. But I think for now, it's not necessarily a bad change.
I liked your like study abroad videos.
Thank you. Those are my
really
favorite.
Awesome to see like the traveling that you do as well. But that's awesome that you didn't let quarantine slow down your content. You just changed it up a little bit. So that's some great advice there. So as a student myself, I know something that I deal with is time management skills. I know that's something I struggle with, and I know like a lot of students struggle with that. So how did you balance like being a social media influencer as well as being a student? Because I know you just graduated, so congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It was definitely a struggle. I would say in high school, it was actually a little bit harder, because my YouTube channel and my studies in high school were two completely separate entities. But once I went to college, I found a way to kind of incorporate both together. And then that's when I started doing college vlogs, college week in my life, college day in my life kind of videos. And people seemed to really, really like them. So it made it easier for me to be able to go about my life in college and focus on my schoolwork and focus on socializing with my friends, but also simultaneously be able to take my camera around with me and kind of show people what it was like to go to school at Loyola. So it was just a little bit of a mixture of both, and people seem to really like it.
And I feel like in college you have more free time as well. Like in high school you have like the set times you come and go.
Exactly. I was able to really structure my schedule in a way where, especially senior year, it got super easy because I was able to put classes on Monday, Wednesdays, or actually no, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I had free days Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it just made for a lot more time for YouTube, which made more time for more content.
Awesome. So for someone wanting to start up in the YouTube industry, what is your biggest piece of advice for anyone trying to pursue this path?
You have to be persistent. If you want to pursue this path, you definitely have to be persistent because I think right now you see all these huge influencers on YouTube, far larger than I am, and you see them living these lavish lives and traveling and just living very, very lavish lives. And you're saying, well, I want to start my YouTube channel and I want to be like that. And although that's an amazing dream, and it honestly is quite attainable if you work hard, it's not going to happen overnight. So you need to be incredibly persistent, and you have to make sure that you're in it for the right reasons. Because right now, since there is so much money being poured into influencer marketing, it's very easy to want to turn around and say, I want to start a YouTube channel because I want to do X, Y, Z, and I want to make X amount of money. But that's not necessarily the right intentions to go into it with. You should go into it because you love it, and it's something that you feel very passionate about. But if that's already crossed off, then just be really persistent, because if you want it, you can have it. Absolutely.
And as you're saying, it's like kind of a saturated market. There's so many YouTubers trying. So how do you feel like you made yourself stand apart?
That's definitely something that I struggled with. I've absolutely struggled with trying to set myself apart from other creators because my channel, in the grand scheme of things, is quite similar to a lot of other creators that I watch. And although I think a lot of people like my content for that reason, in order to grow, it's really important to set yourself apart in some way. And the way that I did that, unintentionally, of course, was studying abroad. I didn't study abroad to grow my YouTube channel, but because I chose to study abroad, my YouTube channel grew significantly. I think within the span of, how long was I abroad? 5 months, I gained over 11,000 subscribers, which is crazy. And it's all because I decided to take a chance and travel to Spain and live there for the second semester of my junior year. And it definitely ended up being one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, partly because study abroad is incredible and I advocate it 100%. But also because it helped me grow my YouTube channel, and it allowed me to reach subscribers that lived in completely different parts of the world.
So do you have subscribers from all over with your demographic? That's so cool.
It is really cool. I had no idea, really. Especially when I was first getting into making study abroad videos. It's not like the subscribers from Spain came again overnight, but it was pretty cool. I believe it was like the maybe third week that I was in Spain. I was doing some shopping in the city, as one does, and this girl came up to me out of nowhere and said that she watches my videos, and she had lived in Spain her entire life, born and raised in Madrid. And it just really opened my eyes to the fact that not all of my subscribers are from Long Island, New York, where I'm from, or live in Baltimore, where I went to college. They kind of are spread out anywhere, and it's really, really cool.
And it's so cool to see like you making an impact, not even just in the States. Like, I think that's the best part. That's great. So I know that you recently talked about how you planned on moving to LA. So what made you like want to do that?
You see, it's not even that LA is my long-term goal. I think I'm in the mindset now, especially with quarantine and how you can see how quickly things can change at a snap of a finger. I don't want to lock myself down to any one particular location or one particular city. I've always said my entire life that my number one goal is to live in New York City and share an apartment with my friends. It's not going to be anything crazy and big with crazy views, but that's always been something that I want and I'm working towards. But with that, I never want to say New York is the only place I will live. If a job opportunity opened up for me in LA, I would never want to turn that down, because you never know what could happen if I move there. It's just, I don't want to close myself off to anything. So I think that's just the mindset that I'm going into the rest of this year with, and then probably the rest of my life with.
Yeah, that's awesome, just to keep an open mind. Mm-hmm. So what was your major in college, by the way?
I majored in advertising and public relations.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So I know we have a few questions about what brands you've worked with in the past or what brands you're currently working with.
I think the most notable brand that I've worked with, just because a lot of my subscribers are also college students, is Chegg, which was the textbook company. I worked with them at the top of the school year, senior year, and they reached out to me to do a campaign promoting their online textbooks and how you can order them and all that stuff. And they really reached out to me because they saw that although I don't have the largest audience in comparison to some of the other influencers that they were working with, I have a very dedicated audience, and they're incredible people. I love the people who watch my videos so much, and they're always very active in the comments, which is my favorite thing. And then brands like Chegg also see that, and they recognize that my subscribers really trust what I have to say, which I'm very grateful for. So that was one brand. And then as for something a little bit more fun, I suppose, I worked with Boohoo, the online fashion company, which I've been shopping at for years now. I think I shopped at Boohoo for the first time when I was 15. So the fact that I was able to work with them when I was 20 is just, it's crazy. So I worked with them as well, and that was a lot of fun. That was a really fun campaign that I was able to do with them.
I have a question for you. As a recent graduate, and you just said you majored in public relations, what do you think is like next for your career? Do you want to keep doing YouTube videos? Do you see that as like a side gig? Do you want that to be your main occupation?
That's a great question. I think in an ideal world, my YouTube channel would continue to grow, and I would be able to allow it to sustain me for a little bit longer, because it is something that I love to focus on. But I have always been really realistic in the sense where I know that YouTube is not a forever platform. I understand that it's not going to be around forever. So I think it all goes back to that very cliche saying with don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's not something that I ever plan on doing. So although I love YouTube and I never would necessarily look at it as a side gig, it's always something that I'm going to have with me. But I definitely plan on getting a traditional career in hopefully advertising, and continuing to do that, and then doing something similar to what I did with my college experience, where I integrate YouTube and my career, and I'm able to show people what it's like to work in advertising.
Do you have a TikTok, by the way? Speaking of not putting all your eggs in one basket, yes. Like I feel like that's another big platform that people are like going on.
So technically I do. Technically I do have a TikTok. Do I use it as often as I should in order to make it another business account for me? No, I do not. Sometimes when I'm really bored, I'll just go on there and post dancing TikToks, like many people do, because I've been dancing since I was really little, and it's something that I love. But that's only when I'm really bored. Other than that, TikTok is more so just for when I'm really bored and I just want to scroll. Exactly.
Well, it's like blown up because of quarantine, honestly. Like TikTok is huge.
I know. And trust me, if I had put more effort into it, maybe I would say, yes, I do have TikTok. Please follow me on TikTok. But for now, I think it's just something fun that I'm doing.
Well, speaking of TikTok, do you utilize any other social media platforms to kind of boost your YouTube? Do you use them like for fun, and then it just so happens that like you are also like a YouTube person, or how do you utilize the other ones?
So when I was younger and I first started YouTube, I think that's when other platforms, in addition to Instagram, like Twitter, and even honestly Snapchat, when I had first started, were used to drive like attention to my YouTube channel. That's how I use them. So I had different business accounts for Twitter and Snapchat. But I think as time went on, I realized that Snapchat is definitely more of a personal platform, so it didn't really benefit me as much as Instagram did to try and push it to promote my videos. Twitter, I kind of just fell off of, if we're being totally honest. I used it pretty consistently for a while, and that's how I would promote not only my new videos, but anything I was doing. And it definitely, I saw the benefits of it, but then I ended up just falling off of Twitter, and then Instagram is one that I've always kept very consistent. But about 2 years ago, my Instagram account that I had since the very beginning of my YouTube channel, so 2013, was actually hacked and deleted. at, I forget how many followers I had, like 7,000 something. It was just hacked and deleted one day and I couldn't get it back. So that was definitely really unfortunate. So I had to start from the ground up with that one. But I've seen benefits with that too, oddly enough. I find that my engagement has gone up. So because of that, I haven't really felt the need to expand onto any other platforms, although I'm sure TikTok would be very useful.
Well, we have a question from Jenna Bratman who says, what is your favorite social media platform besides YouTube and why? So are we going with Instagram?
I think we might have to go with Instagram because I like the fact that I can be artistic with it and I love taking pictures and dressing all nice. It's just something that it makes me very happy. But honestly, if we're just talking leisure, I would have to say TikTok.
Okay.
Instagram is definitely like an art form now.
Oh,
like,
for
with the
sure.
aesthetics that people have and like the filters. So I definitely feel you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of 100%. Aesthetics, your YouTube kind of has its own.
Yes.
I know Sarah asked you in the beginning kind of what you use to edit your videos. So you said iMovie, right?
I started with iMovie and now I use Final Cut Pro.
Okay, and then do you use anything else besides that? Like, where do you get your music from, or like, so it's not copyrighted? Like, how do you go about avoiding like kind of like legal problems that people probably don't know about?
Yeah. So in order to get copyright-free music, I use a website called Epidemic Sound. I have an account on there, so they charge me monthly, but it's 100% worth it. And I'm able to use as much music as I want from their huge database. And you could potentially use the music that is in the YouTube sound library, but it is very generic sounding. And because I have a very particular aesthetic on my YouTube channel, I want the music that I use to follow along with that aesthetic. And I'm not able to do that by using the YouTube sound database. So I decided to sign up for that account on Epidemic Sound. And it's been a very, very good investment for my channel.
What do you use to edit your thumbnails, by the way?
I use a website called picmonkey.com. It was formerly Picnic, which was something I had a lot of fun with in elementary school, and I'm sure a lot of other people did. But yeah, and then Picnic turned into PicMonkey, and it's just, I consider it Photoshop for dummies because it's very easy to use, but you're able to kind of maneuver it in a way where you can have very good looking thumbnails.
That's great information. Yes, I remember Picnic. Mm-hmm. That's a real throwback too.
Oh yeah.
We have another, it's like a two-part question. So I'll ask you the first part first. How has your content changed from first starting your channel to now?
Oh my goodness. My content has changed so much since first starting my channel. I think the number one trend when I first started my channel that everyone across the board was doing was very high energy, overly saturated videos. And I mean that when it comes to colors. I mean, you would be blinded by the amount of neons in your face and how quickly the camera was moving and all the very loud music. And there was something very impersonal about those videos that everyone would make. You never really got to know the person that you were watching. It was more about what DIYs they were showing you how to do and what outfits they were presenting to you. And it was definitely fun for the moment, don't get me wrong. I loved making those videos, but then out of nowhere, there was just this shift in YouTube where everyone just decided that they wanted to get personal and actually start showing their personality. And I think I personally credit it to this YouTuber named Emma Chamberlain. She kind of just came in really hot on YouTube and very unapologetically was herself. And it kind of caught on from there, and everyone just decided to start showing their real personalities. And that's definitely been the biggest shift that's happened on my channel.
Vlogs and stuff too, trying to show yourself, which is awesome.
Exactly. That was probably not only the biggest shift that I made with my channel, but the best shift that I made for my channel. Because those videos, although they were fun to make in the moment, they definitely wouldn't have the same longevity as vlogs.
And this is the second part of Kaya's question. She said the Bethany Moda phase was the first wave of the beauty era on YouTube, and the algorithm and content has changed dramatically since then. How do you keep up with what's trendy now?
That's a really great question. I think it's honestly very hard to keep up with what's trendy right now. And I've definitely struggled with that as of recently, because following with the trends is the number one way that you can grow. And right now, I think it also has a lot to do with the current climate with being in quarantine, but there honestly haven't been too many notable trends that you can kind of jump on the bandwagon with. But I think the number one trend, if you will, is to just, people love when you're so authentic, and people love when you are more vulnerable in a way. And I think that's one thing that I definitely saw the benefits from, because like I said, I made a lot of videos about my study abroad experience. And in the very first one, that just so happened to be the one that blew up and kind of just jump-started why I gained so many subscribers last year, I cried for the first time on the internet. Not the first time in general. I cry quite often, but the first time on the internet. And people were thanking me both in the comments and in my personal DMs for being so vulnerable. And that's definitely the number one trend, if you will, that I think it's important to jump on. Just be unapologetically yourself, and you will definitely see the benefits from that.
How do you, because like you said, you went study abroad and you made videos about that. And I know that you make a lot of videos about a lot of different topics. Kind of, how do you get your inspiration for those? Do you look at other YouTubers? Do you just kind of be like, well, what's popular right now? Because there's all those different challenges that you can do. Or do you just like think like, what do I enjoy doing? Let me film it and show my perspective.
It's the last one for sure. I think where I get most of my inspiration is finding things in my own personal life that bring me joy. Whether it be even things as simple as, I don't know, swimming in my pool during the summer, just things that genuinely bring me joy. I think you can really portray those emotions quite easily on the internet. And the second you do that, it's almost contagious. So that's definitely something that I've been trying to do, kind of just show things that I genuinely enjoy, find my inspiration from that, and then run with it. Because oftentimes I ask for feedback all the time from my subscribers, and ask them to tell me what they do like, what they don't like. And if I am showing something that genuinely brings me joy, and I get comments saying, I loved your pool content, I say, great, because I love it too. And then I continue doing it.
Do you try and get like as many people involved in your videos? So like, are you like, these are all my friends, I want them in it. This is my family, I want them in it. Or do you try and keep it very focused on you? Because I know obviously friends and family are in people's lives. So if you want to show your life, you show them, but do you have like a policy on that, or do you just?
I think my only policy on incorporating people in my life in my videos is if they're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it. As much as I do these videos for my audience, and as much as I continue to push out content because my subscribers love my content, I also do it for myself. And the fact that I'm able to look back on occasions like my senior prom means a lot to me. So I continue to make these videos, and I always encourage my friends and my family to be in my videos because they're such an amazing thing to be able to look back on. So that's kind of what drives me to want people that I love in my videos, because not only is it a great thing for me to look back on in 2 years, it will be available for them too. So it's a nice way for all of us to be able to relive our memories.
That's awesome. It's like a video diary for you.
Exactly. Like, I think I'm a very big picture taker too. My friends know, and they get on me for it. But like, no matter where we are, what we're doing, I'm always that person who's taking photos of all of our activities, because I never want to forget it. So that on top of vlogging, it just takes everything to the next level. And I'm very grateful for it, which is why I don't really plan on stopping anytime soon.
Well, with quarantine, you might not have to.
Exactly. There's nothing else to do.
Jana Bratman said, if you weren't a YouTuber, what would you want to be doing? So kind of off of that question, do you think that even if you had started YouTube when you did, and it hadn't gotten as popular, you hadn't gotten as many views, do you think you would still be doing it just because you enjoy doing it and making these videos for the reasons you just said?
I definitely do. I think looking back on my life, even pre-YouTube, I was always one of those people, like I was just saying, I always take a lot of pictures, and I always love documenting memories. So even if I didn't get blessed with the audience that I have right now, I definitely think I would continue doing it to some extent, because it's just something I'm so passionate about. But if I wasn't doing YouTube, I think I honestly would be on a very similar path, especially because I don't plan on making YouTube my full-time gig anytime soon. So I definitely think I would still be on the same path of trying to pursue advertising and kind of just going wherever the wind takes me.
Fair enough. I know you obviously can't see the future, but what do you think's next for YouTube, like as a platform, being a YouTuber? What else do you think they could do?
Honestly, I don't think YouTube is going anywhere anytime soon. I definitely see with more platforms emerging like TikTok, which kind of inspire people to post more random and in the moment content. I think YouTube is going to have to progress in that direction where I think it's going to become a little bit less curated. I have a feeling that maybe within the next 2-3 years, people are going to be editing less and less so they can make their subscribers feel like they are in the loop 100% of the time, which is definitely going to be a big change if that ever were to happen. But as for the platform itself, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. It's definitely not a forever platform, like I said. So I always encourage anyone who does YouTube to download all of their videos and put it on a hard drive because you never know what can happen. But I think we're pretty safe for the next, I'll give it 5 years.
When you said you wanted to change up your editing style, is that what you meant? You want to do like less of like forced editing and?
Not so much, simply because I think going off of what I was just saying with YouTube maybe potentially becoming a little less curated, that will not make me personally very happy because editing is probably my favorite part about creating content because I just have so much fun with it. But I think what I was referring to when I said that was, I want to make it a more enjoyable viewing experience for my subscribers because I think sometimes when you sit down and you watch a video, it's nice to hear someone talk about something for a minute, maybe a minute and a half, but then the second it starts getting dragged on, you're like, okay, I get it. Let's talk about something else. And you, like, viewers also want to remain stimulated. So I think while you're talking, and this is something that I'm trying to do, while you're talking, put other images on top of you talking. So there's something for the viewers to watch and to listen to at the same
time. What's maybe like the best comment you've ever gotten on one of your YouTube videos? Do you have one that stands out in your mind, or you're just like happy when you get great comments?
Yeah. I mean, I've already said this, but I think all YouTubers will say this for the most part, but I think I have the best audience in the world. I think they're like all so incredibly supportive. And I love all of the people who watch my videos because they make it a point to like communicate with me because they know that that's my favorite thing about creating content. I don't have one particular comment that sticks out in my mind, but I think the overarching comment that I've gotten on numerous occasions that just makes me so happy is when girls say that I'm the sister that they never had and always wanted, that they view me as not only a role model, but just an older sister, someone that they can kind of depend on. And just anytime anyone comments on the fact that I made them happy or I made them smile when they were having a bad day, it makes me so incredibly happy.
That's great. And I assume that's one of like the best parts about doing YouTube for you.
Absolutely. It is the best part.
Do you have like a least favorite thing about doing this?
I think my least favorite would just be the criticism. And of course, as I've gotten older, the criticism has actually gotten a lot more, not only manageable, but a lot less frequent. High school was the worst of the worst of it because it was so different. I was absolutely the only YouTuber in my school, and I didn't have as much of a established platform when I was in 10th grade. So I was subject to a lot of criticism. But now, especially after going to college, I felt very lucky in college because people were so supportive. And then since then, it's gotten so much better. But I would still have to say that the criticism is probably the worst part, but still manageable.
When you started out, were you like embarrassed to tell people you were a YouTuber? Because I remember years ago being like a YouTuber was like, weird. A YouTuber. Yeah, like it just had a correlation.
Especially when people at your school like found your channel and you were like, oh, yikes.
I know. So there was definitely a bit of time in the beginning where I didn't tell people, and it was really easy because I had like 5 subscribers. So it's not like anybody was finding me. But I think the main way that people who I didn't personally want found out was through word of mouth. I would tell one of my friends who would tell one of their friends, and then it would just spread like wildfire from there. So there was definitely a bit of an embarrassment period. I, on numerous occasions, had people play my videos in the middle of classrooms. and put my face up on the screen. And that doesn't feel good as a ninth grader who's wildly insecure. And I think everyone can relate to that, being insecure in middle school, high school. It's just life. So having people kind of pick you apart a little bit extra definitely didn't feel good. So embarrassment period for sure.
Yeah. Have you had any setbacks when you did this? Like, I assume when you first started, were there setbacks to your videos or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had very long stagnant periods. Like I've been at this for 7 years, and I'm not embarrassed to say this because I think a lot of YouTubers experience this, where I can pinpoint 2 years in my mind where I didn't grow at all. Like I would grow, but at the same time that I was growing, I was losing subscribers. So I remained incredibly stagnant. And it's definitely discouraging for sure when you're working so hard and you're pushing out all this content just for nobody to join your little community, but you move past it. And again, as trends change, you're able to jump on those and get more exposure. So it doesn't last forever.
It definitely gets discouraging, but you just have to remember
absolutely
moving forward.
Yeah, and you have to remember why you started it. Because during those stagnant periods, I also would be lying if I said that I never thought about quitting. I think 2 years ago at this point, I remember I was sitting down with my family and I said, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. But then you start to read the comments again and you start to receive more DMs. And I bounce back really quickly because I realized that even if I'm not growing, there are people who are religiously coming back to my channel to watch my content. So if I'm not going to continue doing it for the new incoming subscribers, I'm going to continue doing it for the loyal subscribers.
That's great. And to give people kind of maybe like a realistic look behind, like, because YouTubing can be difficult. I think people think it's all fun, but you treat it like it's a job.
Absolutely.
It is one. So what kind of equipment would you recommend someone buy if they were a YouTuber?
So I think the initial equipment that is absolutely necessary is a slightly high quality camera. The thing with that is iPhones are incredible quality at this point, and I think it's definitely possible to film early YouTube videos on an iPhone. The only issue is the stability of the iPhone. Sometimes it can be really shaky, and that is the number one turnoff with viewers when it comes to videos. Always make sure that your stabilization is good. So in addition to that, a good quality camera, definitely get a tripod. You can get a little one if you have a smaller camera and it works. But if you're working on a larger camera like a DSLR, you can invest in a tripod that is a little bit larger. And honestly, if you do your shopping correctly, it's not too expensive to get a nicer tripod. But cameras are always going to be pretty pricey regardless.
Yeah, that's good advice. How long on average does it take you to like put together your next video? Does it depend on what the topic is, or do you put like the same kind of energy into all of them?
It definitely depends on the topic, simply because if I'm doing a week in my life, like the title suggests, I am vlogging an entire week of my life. And then at the end of the week, I compile all the footage, which if you want a realistic view, the last time I did a week in my life, I had over 3 hours worth of footage. And you need to cut down that 3 hours worth of footage to about a 10-15 minute long video, which is really, really hard. Because when you're recording, you think everything's good. And you're like, oh, this is all quality content. But not everyone wants to hear all 3 hours of your content. So I think that's why the editing process takes as long as it does. On average, it usually takes me around 2-3 days to edit a video to its full potential and to something that I'm incredibly proud of. It's usually around 2-3 days. A video with less footage, say around an hour worth of footage, I can probably get done in about a day and a half, 2 days.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today, Danielle.
Of course.
It was so much fun to pick your brain and just hear all of your experiences.
I had so much fun.
Hopefully everyone who attended has a Student Mingle profile. If not, fashionmingle.net/studentmingle, sign up for one. You can connect with Danielle there. And we will also post her Instagram and YouTube links in the bio of this video when we put it up on YouTube later today. So make sure you go back and check that out. And we look forward to mingling with you in the future.
Thank you for having me.
It was so nice to have you. Hope everybody has a great day.
Have a good day.
All right. Thanks, guys.